44 international and national conferences. His overall citation are 475 with an H index rating of 13 and I10 index rating of 16. He has a wide area of interest and is not just limited to power electronics. He has undertaken two research projects. Further, under his excellent guidance, many students have completed their doctoral degree and master's degree. He is reviewer of 8 international journals such as IEEE Transaction on Power Electronics, IET Power Electronics, IET Science and Measurement Technology, and many more. In addition to this, 8 conferences were reviewed by him. During his long service in IIT BHU, he held various key positions. There are many more achievements of Professor Mohanty sir to be penned down. Now, not taking much of your time, I would like to call upon Professor R. Mohanty sir to embrace the participants with his expert lecture. Mohanty sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the topic of today's lecture is active power filter for power quality improvement. How many of you are, let me know how many of you are familiar with power electronics? I think most of you would be familiar with power electronics. And this is a very basic topic of power electronics, which is active power filter. Now, before starting active power filter, let me introduce you about some of the basics of power quality. What is power quality and why power quality is so important these days? Now, first of all of us are familiar with the definition of power factor. The definition of power factor is taught to BTech students in part 2. And if you ask anyone, define power factor, he will say that it is the cosine of the angle by which the current is leading or lagging the voltage. In most of the cases, it is lagging this because in most of the cases, it is inductive load. And we know that for inductive load, the current would be lagging the voltage depending upon the amount of inductance that you have in your circuit. Now, this is the basic definition of power factor. Now, this is the case where both voltage and currents are sinusoidal. Now, suppose in a case where the voltage is sinusoidal, but the current is not sinusoidal. Let us take this example. Suppose this is the case where the voltage is sinusoidal, but the current is a square wave. This is the case where the diode rectifier is feeding RL load and the value of the inductance is infinite. In that case, the source current becomes a square wave. Now, you can see that there is a phase difference between the voltage and current, and also there is distortion in the current. Now, in a situation where the voltage is sinusoidal, but the current is a square wave. Now, in such a situation, how will you define the power factor? Now, in this case, what you have to do is that we have to find out the fundamental component of this square wave, okay? And this dotted line shows the fundamental component of this square wave, okay? Therefore, the angle between the fundamental component of current and voltage, the cosine of the angle between the voltage and the fundamental component of current is known as displacement power factor, okay? And this multiplied by the distortion factor gives you the power factor in such a case. Therefore, we can say that in case of nonlinear load, it is the displacement power factor multiplied by the fundamental component of current divided by the total current. Now, you can see from this diagram that this current has a fundamental component. So, RMS value of this fundamental component divided by total current gives you the distortion factor. Therefore, to have a good power factor, you will have to improve the displacement power factor, and over and above, you will have to improve the ratio of fundamental component divided by the total current, which is also known as the distortion factor. Now, in case of nonlinear load, in case of linear load, displacement power factor becomes the definition of power factor. Okay. So I have written here the definition of displacement power factor. It is the cosine of the angle by which the fundamental component of current is lagging or leading the voltage, which you can see from this diagram. It is lagging in this case. So cosine of this angle gives you the displacement power factor. Okay. Now, there is also a definition of total harmonic distortion, which is very common these days. The definition of total harmonic distortion is the total harmonic distortion is defined as the measure of closeness in shape between a waveform and its fundamental component. That means if you have this waveform, which is a square wave, you have to see how much close is this waveform with respect to purely sinusoidal waveform. And that is the measure of total harmonic distortion. Okay. So total harmonic distortion gives you a measure of quality of the waveform. Okay. If the total harmonic distortion, which is written in the form of percentage, if this is very, very less, you can say that the waveform is close to sinusoidal. Okay. And the waveform total harmonic distortion is very, very less. And if the total harmonic distortion is very, very high, you can say that the waveform is far away from sinusoidal waveform. If you try to find out the TSD of this waveform, you will see that this TSD is of the order of 48%, because here if the fundamental component is 1, the third harmonic component will be 1 by 3, the fifth harmonic component will be 1 by 5, the seventh harmonic component will be 1 by 7, and so on. Okay. So in the form of this formula, this total harmonic distortion, which in short we call it TSD, TSD is equal to 1 divided by V01. In terms of voltage, I am telling here. So V01 is the fundamental component multiplied by summation of V0n square, n is equal to 2, 3n infinity and to the power half. And here, in case the even harmonics will not be there, only the odd harmonics will be there. So this will be n is equal to 3, 5, 7, like that. If it is a three-phase system, in that case, the third harmonic will not be there. It will be 5, 7, like that. Okay. So this is the definition of total harmonic distortion, which is very, very important so far as the quality of the AC power is concerned. If the total harmonic distortion is less, the quality of the waveform is good and it is very, very close to sinusoidal. And if the TSD is more, in that case, the waveform is far away from purely sinusoidal waveform. Okay. Now, therefore, to have a good quality of power, what you have to do, or if you want to improve the power factor, overall power factor, what you have to do. First thing is that you have to reduce the angle between this fundamental component of current and the voltage. Okay, that is the first thing. And the second thing is that you want to make this waveform close to sinusoidal. Okay, so there are two things. One, you have to improve the displacement power factor, and the other one is that you will have to improve the distortion factor. Only then you will have a good power factor. Okay, so for reactive power compensation, okay, there are two things for power factor improvement. The first one is the reactive power compensation, and the second one is your harmonic filtering. If the load is a linear load, in that case, you do not need to do harmonic filtering. Only the reactive power compensation is enough. And you might know that in order to improve the power factor, you place a capacitor parallel to the load. And since the capacitor current is leading in nature with respect to the voltage, the overall angle, okay, between the voltage and current reduces, and thereby the power factor improves. So that is the case for a linear load. And if it is a non-linear load, okay, in that case, apart from the reactive power compensation, you will also have to do the harmonic filtering. Okay, so these are the two things that you have to do for reactive power improvement in case of non-linear load. You have to do the reactive power compensation and over and above, you have to do the harmonic filtering. Okay. Now, the methods of reactive power compensation. The methods of reactive power compensation are thyristor switched capacitor. Okay. Then we have thyristor control inductor, and then we have PWM static power compensator, which is also known as instantaneous reactive power compensator with minimum energy storage elements. Okay. Now, first of all, what is thyristor switched capacitor? Let us see. In case of thyristor switched capacitor, capacitors are switched on using thyristor switches. Okay. And depending upon the requirement, if you require capacitor value C1, then these two devices will be switched on and off in the positive and negative half cycle. If you require more capacitance, then C2 will be turned on, and so on. Okay. Now, there is a very basic question that why do we need thyristors to switch on the capacitors? Okay. The answer to this question is that suppose you have a sinusoidal waveform here. Okay. With respect to this sinusoidal waveform, you can turn on the capacitor at the zero crossing, or you can turn on the capacitor at some other place. Okay. Now, what will happen if you turn on the capacitor when the voltage is maximum, the instantaneous value of the voltage is maximum? In that case, what will happen? Depending upon the value of the capacitance, there will be a current flowing in the circuit. Okay. And if this capacitance value is large, a situation like short circuit will happen. Therefore, it is advisable to turn on the capacitors during the zero crossing of the voltage. So in that case, what will happen? You will not have the large value of current flowing in the circuit. Therefore, in thyristor switch capacitor, we turn on and turn off the capacitor during the zero voltage condition, so that the initial current is not large. Over and above, you have a small value of inductor connected in series. This inductor has nothing to do with reactive power compensation. Okay. The purpose of this inductor is that if you have not detected the zero crossing exactly, suppose you have the zero crossing here, but in your calculation, okay, you using some digital circuit or analog circuit, you are doing the calculations, and your calculations are not exact. So instead of 0 degree, suppose you are turning on the capacitor as 5 degree or 10 degree. Okay. So there is a small current flowing in this circuit. So to take care of that small current, we have inductors connected in series with the capacitors. These inductors has nothing to do with reactive power compensation. These inductors will take care of the current during the switch ons and switch offs if you have not been able to detect the zero voltage condition exactly, and because of which a small current is flowing in the circuit. Okay. So is this clear to you that depending upon the reactive power that you require, you go on turning the capacitors one by one. Okay. These capacitors are not of very high values, because if you have a large value of capacitor, what will happen? There is a tendency of large current in the circuit. Therefore, depending upon the values of reactive power that you require, you turn on the capacitors one by one. There's another thing that even if you have, normally the AC capacitors are not available in large values. Okay. This is because we don't require AC capacitors of large values. Therefore, because if you have a large value AC capacitor here, in that case, the current will be still larger. Okay. Now, the next question is that, then why do we require inductors in reactive power compensation? With switched capacitors means the capacitors are turned and off during the zero voltage condition. Okay. Now, suppose you are going on turning the capacitors one by one, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and Cn. And when you are turning on the Cn capacitor, suppose the power factor becomes leading. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? So in case the power factor is leading, what will happen? Your voltage will boost up. Okay. The receiving end voltage will be more than the sending end voltage. You must have heard about the Ferranti effect in power system. What happens if in case of long transmission line, okay, if the line is in lightly loaded condition or under no load condition, what happens? Sometimes the receiving end voltage becomes more than the sending end voltage. So here also what will happen, if you have overcompensated the line, okay, in that case, what will happen? The receiving end voltage will be more than the sending end voltage. Am I clearly audible? Am I clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Very
okay.
crisp and clear.
Okay. If it is not clear, you just tell me. Okay. It is
Sure,
not
sir,
clear.
sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, when you are turning on the nth capacitor, suppose the power factor becomes leading. In that case, what will happen? So the answer is that the receiving end voltage will be more than the sending end voltage. Now there you will have to use the inductors. Okay. So by using the inductors, what you will have to do, you will again try to make this power factor close to unity, but it should be lagging. Okay. So here the controlled inductor, this is a control inductor. This is not switch inductor. In case of this, it is switched capacitor. It is switched capacitor. Switched capacitor means the capacitors are turned on during the zero voltage condition. And when you turn on the capacitor during the zero voltage condition, it gives you a fixed value of capacitance. Okay. So, whereas here it is giving you controlled inductance. That is, this value, the inductor value will change as you change the firing angle of these thyristor switches. Okay. So let us take a small example. Vs is the supply voltage. Okay. And now what will happen if this is pure inductor? If we neglect the resistance of this inductor, the inductor current will be lagging the voltage by 90 degrees. We have neglected the resistance of this inductor. Okay. Now, whatever control you have for the inductor, this control will be from 90 degree to 180 degree. From 0 degree to 90 degree, you don't have any control, because for turning on the thyristors, what will happen? You have to apply a positive voltage between anode and cathode, and also there must be some forward current. Okay, you cannot turn on the thyristor before this 90 degree, because here the current is negative. So the thyristor will never be turned on. Okay, this thyristor will be turned on.
Uska series.
Pardon? Okay. So you will not be able to turn on. You will not be able to turn on the thyristor before this 90 degree, because before 90 degree the current is negative. Okay, the current crosses this point at 90 degree. So beyond 90 degree only you can turn on the thyristor. Therefore, the control which you have here is from 90 degree to 180 degree only. Okay, I think this is clear to you. Now suppose I make this firing angle is equal to 120 degree. That means 90 plus 30. So in that case, this will be the inductor current. Okay, this is the inductor current. Now, if this is the inductor current, the dotted line shows you the fundamental component of current flowing through this inductor. Okay, if you further increase this in firing angle, suppose 135 degree, that means 90 plus 45 is 135. Okay, now you can see the dotted line. Okay, this fundamental component of current is still reducing. Okay, that means if the fundamental component of current through the inductor is changing by changing the value of the firing angle beyond 90 degree, that means what is happening? The effective value of inductance will also change. Now the question is that what should be your firing angle? Now, depending upon the overcompensation that you have here, okay, depending upon the overcompensation that you have here, you have to choose an appropriate value of inductance here by changing the firing angle alpha, so that the extra value of capacitance is nullified by the inductor. And again, the power factor becomes close to unity, but it should be lagging. So this is the purpose of your control inductor. Okay, the control inductor gives you a variable value of inductance, whereas the switched capacitor gives you fixed value of capacitance. Okay, therefore, It is thyristor switched capacitor and thyristor controlled inductor. Okay, let us try to understand it with the help of some mathematical equations also. Okay, if Vs is equal to root 2 Vs cos omega t, the fundamental component of current IL1 is given by this equation. Okay, where alpha is from 90 degree up to 180 degree. Okay, and because of which the value of effective inductance, that is L effective, will be equal to Vs divided by omega IL1. Okay, and if you put this value of IL1 from equation number 2 into equation number 3, you get L effective is equal to pi L1 divided by 2 pi minus 2 alpha plus sine 2 alpha, where alpha is between 90 degree and 180 degree. Okay, so here if you change this value of alpha change means you are changing this control, you are changing this fundamental component. So effectively the L effective value is changing. Okay, and how much it will change depending upon the extra value of capacitance that you have put in your circuit. Is it all right? Okay, now suppose you have a combined scheme. Combined scheme means you have a thyristor switched capacitor along with you have a thyristor control inductor. So earlier I have told you that the thyristor switched capacitor gives you fixed value of capacitance. Okay, and thyristor control inductor gives you controlled value of inductance. Okay, now you have a complete scheme where you have both thyristor switched capacitor and thyristor controlled inductor. Okay, so we'll consider thyristor switched capacitor as fixed capacitor. Oh, okay, so we have a fixed capacitor. See here, this capacitance is because of the thyristor switched capacitor, and then you have a controlled inductor here, and with this schemes you want to do the reactive power compensation. Now we are not talking about harmonics, remember, we are talking about linear load only. Okay, later on we'll come into harmonics. Now what is the leading var supplied by this capacitance? It will be V square divided by 1 by omega c. Lagging var supplied by this is equal to Vs into IL1. Okay, therefore net var supplied is equal to this minus Vs IL1, and if you put this value of IL1 from the earlier equation, from equation this, so what do you get? You get this is equal to net var supplied is equal to V square and multiplied by this. Okay, and finally what do you get? Then you have therefore you have this is equal to, you have got a final equation which is in the form of Is sine phi. So Is sine phi is equal to this. Okay, Is sine phi is equal to Vs multiplied by this things. Okay, so depending upon the value of Is sine phi, if you know the value of Is sine phi, okay, you can find the value of alpha which is required to make this power factor unity. Okay, so what you will have to do in actual case, what you have to do is that at the zero crossing of the voltage, you will have to measure this current. Okay, and this current gives you the value of Is sine phi. Okay, and if you get this value of Is sine phi, this alpha will give you a firing angle of the thyristors which will make your power factor close to unity. So this is a basic scheme, and this is used in reactive power compensation, and this is the reactive power compensation using thyristor switched capacitors and thyristor control inductor. Now let us discuss about the disadvantages of this scheme. Okay, so disadvantage of this scheme is that number one is that as the var generated or absorbed in these schemes are directly proportional to the energy storing capabilities of capacitors and inductors, there is considerable increase in size of these elements when the var compensated is large. That means the inductor will be very bulky and also the capacitor will be very bulky. Okay. Secondly, the thyristor switched capacitor and thyristor control inductor schemes have a major disadvantage that generate additional current harmonics. Why? Because you see here the current drawn by this inductor is not sinusoidal. Okay, when alpha is equal to 90 degree, in that case the current drawn by the inductor is sinusoidal. But for controlling it, what you are doing is that you are making it 120 degree, you are making it 135 and so on. Okay, so as you are increasing the value of this alpha, okay, you see the distortion level in the current is decreasing. For alpha is equal to 120 degree, this is the current. If you make this alpha value is equal to 135 degree, the distortion is more. If you further increase the value of alpha, the distortion will be still more. Okay. Therefore, this will create additional harmonics in the system. Therefore, you are trying to improve the power factor by reactive power compensation, but in that process, you are injecting additional harmonics into the system. Okay, could you understand the meaning of this? You are trying to do the reactive power compensation using thyristor switch capacitor along with thyristor control inductor. But what you're doing is that one part, that is displacement power factor, you're improving. But the distortion factor, you are still deteriorating. The system has some distortion because of the non-linear loads connected in the system. And in addition to that, still you have a thyristor control inductor along with thyristor switch capacitor. So this is generating additional harmonics, and therefore the distortion factor is again further deteriorating. Okay. So what you have to do is that you have to remove this harmonics from the system. Okay. Therefore, one part you try to improve. Displacement power factor you try to improve by using thyristor switch capacitor and thyristor control inductor. But the other part, that is distortion factor, you are deteriorating because you are injecting additional harmonics into the system. Okay. Therefore, you will have to remove this distortion from the system, okay, using active filters or passive filters, whatever you use. I am coming to active and passive filter later on. Before that, let me discuss about the static VAR compensator. Okay, to overcome the limitations associated with thyristor switch capacitors and thyristor control inductor, pulse width modulated static VAR compensator have been proposed. Okay, the advent of gate control power semiconductor devices like GTOs, IGBTs have made it possible to manufacture static VAR compensators, in short we call it SDC, that can generate leading or lagging VARs with only one passive component, that is a capacitor for a voltage source inverter and an inductor for a current source inverter. Okay, therefore we'll come to PWM static VAR compensator. Several topologies, techniques, control strategies of PWM SDCs have been reported in the literature. Okay, now let us take this voltage source inverter. Okay, this is a voltage source inverter. The only difference is that instead of a DC source, we have a capacitor here. Okay, now here what is happening, you're trying to do the reactive power compensation using this voltage source converter or voltage source inverter. Okay, now here is this is V compensation generated by this inverter. Okay, now this V compensation will have a fundamental component. Suppose this fundamental component is V compensation 1. When this V compensation 1 is more than the supply voltage, a leading current with respect to Vs, okay, will be drawn and the inverter supplies lagging VARs to the system. Therefore, when this V compensation 1 is more than the supply voltage, this voltage source inverters behaves like a capacitor. Okay, and when V compensation 1 is less than the supply voltage, the inverter draws lagging current and it supplies leading VARs to the system. That means in that case, it will behave like an inductor. Okay, therefore, this voltage source inverter can behave both as a capacitor or as an inverter, depending upon the value of V compensation 1. And how will you control V compensation 1? By controlling the switches of this inverter. So by controlling the switches of this inverter, either this voltage source inverter can behave as a capacitor or this voltage source inverter can behave as an inductor. Okay. Now, when V compensation 1 is equal to Vs, no current will flow into or out of the system. Okay. Now here, the magnitude of Vs is kept higher than the amplitude of Vs. Okay, because if the magnitude of Vs is higher than the magnitude of Vs is higher than the amplitude of Vs, only then this generated voltage will have a magnitude which is higher than the supply voltage, and only then a current will be drawn, okay? Leading current will be drawn and an inverter will be supplies the lagging volts, okay? Now, here, by suitable operation of the switches, the voltage V compensation 1 having a fundamental component V compensation 1 is generated at the output of the inverter, okay? Now here, by controlling V compensation 1, that is the output voltage of the inverter, by controlling V compensation 1, the amount of reactive power can be controlled. So it is clear to you that by controlling V compensation 1, the amount of reactive power can be controlled, because already you have studied that if V compensation 1 is more than the supply voltage, it will behave like a capacitor, and when V compensation 1 is less than the supply voltage, it is behaving as an inductor, okay? So as the phase angle between V compensation, I compensation and V compensation is either plus 90 degree or minus 90 degree, okay? When it will behave as a capacitor, this angle will be 90 degree, and when it will behave as an inductor, this angle will be minus 90 degree. Here, in the theoretical analysis, we are not considering the resistance of the capacitor and inductor. So either it is plus 90 degree or it is minus 90 degree. So real power is neither supplied nor absorbed by the DC source, okay? Hence, the DC source can be replaced by a capacitor. The practical system will have some losses which are supplied by the source, okay? So in case of practical system, there will be some losses in the switches, okay? And in that case, the inductors will not be pure inductors, the capacitor will not be pure capacitors. They have their own limitations there. So in practical cases, there will be some losses which are supplied by the source. So only that much of losses will be supplied by the source. Apart from that, the source need not do anything, okay? To limit the DC voltage ripple within an acceptable margin, a fairly large capacitor is required for single phase system. The incremental value of DC link capacitor does not significantly affect the overall cost. However, the dynamic performance of the compensation is degraded, okay? You know that if the capacitance value is very large, in that case, the time constant will be large, and therefore the dynamic performance of the system will be degraded, okay? So that is the problem with that. And in most of the cases, it is the voltage source inverter which is preferred instead of the current source inverters, because the current source inverters are more bulky compared to the voltage source inverters, okay? Now, there are some certain standards for harmonics, currents, and voltages, okay? The harmonics, we are not talking about the harmonics generated by the static power compensators that we have earlier studied. Now, what we do is that there are certain standards and guidelines for harmonic current selecting. These standards are EN 50006. This is known as limitation and disturbances in electric supply networks caused by domestic and similar appliances. Okay, this is one standard. Another standard is IEC norm 5553. This is another international standard. Then there is some West German standard, okay, VDE 0838 for household appliances. Then there is one IEEE guidelines for harmonic control and reactive power compensation of static converters, okay, which was revised in 1992 to 5/19/1992. So this is very important, and this standard says that the voltage TSD and current TSD should be within certain percentage, okay. That means if your TSD level, suppose you have an industry, okay, and your TSD level is much higher, okay, TSD level is 15%. So in that case, you will be penalized for that, or else you install filters at your premises so that the TSD is within 5%. Otherwise, you will be penalized for that, okay. So there are several international standards for that, international guidelines for that. Otherwise, you will be penalized for the harmonics generated at your premises, because you are not only generating the harmonics, okay, you're also disturbing the voltage, and through the common bus, the others are also connected through the PCC, common point of coupling, okay. Therefore, you are generating harmonics, and because of which some other person who is connected to the system is getting affected, and their voltage is not sinusoidal, okay. So first, come to harmonic filtering. For harmonic filtering, there are two types of filtering schemes. The first one is known as shunt passive filter. Okay, it is known as shunt passive filter, and the second one is your active power filter. So let us study about the shunt passive filter and active power filter one by one. Okay, the first, let us come to shunt passive filter. The shunt passive filters have traditionally been used to absorb harmonics generated by nonlinear loads. Okay, they use LC resonating circuit offering negligible impedance at tuned frequency. Okay, the low impedance path allows the harmonic currents to flow through them. Shunt passive filters provide harmonic filtering at the load end, at the source of harmonics, and hence reduce voltage distortion at the load terminal. The meaning is this: suppose you want to eliminate the fifth harmonic frequency. Okay, you have a three-phase system, and for three-phase system, the lowest harmonic is fifth harmonic. So apart from fifth harmonic, you will also be the seventh harmonic, like that. Okay, so you will tune an LC filter at the fifth harmonic frequency. So what will happen? All the harmonic frequency current will try to flow through the low impedance path. You know that the current try to flow through the low impedance path. So if you have a filter tuned at the fifth harmonic frequency, the fifth harmonic frequency currents will tend to flow through that, and your system will be relieved of the fifth harmonic frequency. Okay, and for that there is a standard that the impedance difference of the source and the filter should be at least 10 times. Okay, that means if the impedance of your source is 1 ohm, okay, or the impedance of your filter will be 1 by 10. So that is 0.1 ohm. Okay, so if the difference is there, the current will always, so 90% of the current will flow through the filter. Okay, and in that way, your system will be relieved of the harmonic currents. So if your system has, apart from fifth harmonic, your system has seventh harmonic also, okay, 11th harmonic also. So in that case, apart from fifth harmonic passive filter, you need to have seventh harmonic, 11th harmonic passive filter also, so that harmonic current flows through the passive filters. The harmonic currents will flow only through those passive filters for which they are tuned. The meaning of this is that you have tuned a passive filter at the fifth harmonic frequency, only the fifth harmonic component current will flow through it, not the seventh harmonic current. Okay, so for seventh harmonic current, you need to have another shunt passive filter tuned at the seventh harmonic frequency. Okay, so you require a large number of shunt passive filters. Therefore, the limitations of shunt passive filters are that for filtering several harmonics, different passive filters are required, because one passive filter can filter out only one harmonic current effectively. You require large number of shunt passive filter tuned at the harmonic frequencies. The second one is that the source inductance strongly influences the compensation characteristics of the passive filters. For nonlinear loads connected to systems having very low supply side inductance, it is difficult to design passive filters with sharp tune. The meaning is that suppose your passive filter, your source impedance is very less. Okay, so the source impedance is suppose 0.1. Okay, and it is a stiff bus. Stiff bus means the source inductance is very, very less. So in that case, you will have to design a passive filter whose impedance should be 0.01. So it is not practically possible to design a passive filter of impedance 0.0. It's very, very difficult. Okay, so in that case, if your system, if your source inductance or source impedance is very, very less, it is very, very difficult to design a shunt passive filter, because in that case you will not get the impedance difference, so that all the currents, harmonic current flows through the shunt passive filters. Apart from that, they are also highly susceptible to undesirable series and parallel resonance with the source and the load. Because if you have a large number of shunt passive filters, okay, there is an effect called parallel resonance. Okay, so even if you have tuned the filter to the fifth harmonic frequency, because of this parallel resonant effect, what will happen is that the frequency will deviate from the fifth harmonic frequency. Fifth harmonic frequency is suppose 250 hertz. So you will find that practically because of these effects, the filter is tuned at 240 hertz or 245 hertz. So if it deviates from its tuned frequency, it will not be able to filter out the harmonics effectively. So in practical situations, what is done that we initially detune the passive filter. So instead of tuning it at fifth harmonic frequency exactly, we tuned it at 4.9, keeping in mind that this much will be the effect of detuning. Okay, so instead of seventh harmonic frequency, that is instead of 350 hertz, we'll try to tune at 345 hertz. So we have to do the things approximately. Exact tuning of the shunt passive filters is not possible because of this undesirable series and parallel resonance, because of which the filters are actually detuned. Okay, so this is another disadvantage of shunt passive filter. The other disadvantage of the shunt passive filter is that when the harmonic currents increase, that passive filters are overloaded. That means if you have kept in mind that your third harmonic frequency, suppose if the fundamental component is 10, and you have kept in mind that the third harmonic frequency will be one third of that, that is 3.33, and because of certain regions, this third harmonic component has increased beyond that. So in that case, the shunt passive filters will be overloaded. So again, that is not desirable. Okay, so these are some of the limitations of shunt passive filters. It is very easy to design a shunt passive filter. You require only an inductor and a capacitor, and you have to tune at a certain frequency, and then you have to see that what is the quality factor of that filter, because if the quality factor is very, very low, you will get a flat type of resonance curve. Okay, and if your quality factor has substantial value, that if Q is say 20 or 25 or more than that, you will get a sharp tuning, and if you get a sharp tuning, the effectiveness of the shunt passive filter will be more. Okay, so otherwise, the design of shunt passive filter is very simple. You require an inductor and a capacitor, and it has to be tuned at a particular frequency. Okay. Then next come to the active power filter. Now, what is an active power filter? When the PWM converters are used for harmonic filtering in addition to reactive power compensation, they are known as active power filters. Okay. That means the PWM static power compensator that you have studied here, okay, it is used for reactive power compensation as well as harmonic filtering. That means if you do the FFT of V compensation 1, okay, it will have V compensation 1, apart from it will have other harmonic components also. Therefore, use the harmonic components for harmonic cancellation or harmonic attenuation, okay, or harmonic compensation. So using this voltage source inverter, you can supply reactive power at the fundamental frequency, and also you can compensate the harmonics, and that is known as active power filter. So active power filter is nothing but it is voltage source inverters used for reactive power compensation at the fundamental frequency as well as the harmonic compensation. But what type of control you will use there, it is a different thing. I am not talking about the control right now. Okay, you have to do reactive power compensation at the fundamental frequency, and also you will have to do the harmonic compensation. You have to utilize the harmonic components present in this V compensation 1 apart from the harmonic fundamental component, so that you can cancel out the harmonics already present in the line. Okay, so you can do both reactive power compensation and harmonic filtering using the active power filter. So active power filters are nothing but when PWM power compensator or PWM converters are used for harmonic filtering in addition to reactive power compensation, they are known as active power filter. Okay, and for that different types of control techniques are there. Okay, one technique is known as indirect current control active power filter. Another technique is known as controlled current active power filter. Here it will not be possible for me to discuss everything. I will be giving you some idea. Okay, So let us first discuss about the indirect current control active power filter. Okay, in indirect control active power filter, the active power filter is indirect current control and is based on a voltage source converter. Okay, then the voltage source inverter is controlled by two loops, the voltage control loop and the current control loop. The voltage control loop regulates the DC link capacitor voltage. The current control loop saves the source current such that the source current is in phase with and of the same shape as the input voltage. The last one is that the reference current for harmonic filtering and reactive power compensation is generated from the DC link capacitor voltage. Okay. Now this diagram will explain you this. Now here you have a nonlinear load. Okay, you have a nonlinear load, and this nonlinear load is the cause of injecting harmonics as well as and deteriorating the power factor at the fundamental frequency. Okay, and you are trying to do it with the help of a voltage source inverter. Okay, now it could be a voltage source inverter, it could be a current source inverter also, but here we are discussing about the voltage source inverter only. So you have a capacitor here. Okay, so what you have to do is that pass through low pass filter, and here you will get VC. Okay, now this VC is compared with a reference DC value. Okay, and this difference is sent to a controller. Here it is the simplest type of controller. It may be PI controller, it may be fuzzy controller, any type of controller you can use here. Okay, then you get something K. This K is multiplied by sine omega t to get the reference current. So reference current generation is very, very important. Now here, this reference current is generated using an indirect current control. Okay, you are not calculating what is the IS sine phi. Okay, rather than that, what you are seeing, you are sensing the capacitor voltage, and after sensing the capacitor voltage, okay, you are generating the reference current. Now this reference current has to be compared with the actual current and then give it to a controller, and this controller will then control the voltage source inverter. That means it will generate the firing angles for the inverter, and this voltage source inverter will give you the fundamental component as well as the harmonic component, so that this current is close to the reference current. This reference current is sinusoidal. Okay, and you are comparing it with the actual current, and then the difference is fed to the voltage source inverter, and the voltage source inverter is giving you appropriate firing angle for which you are getting the required amount of fundamental component and the harmonic components, so that the power factor becomes close to unity. So this is known as the indirect current control method of active power filter, where you sense the capacitor voltage, and after sensing the capacitor voltage, you control the active power filter. And apart, there may be another scheme. What you have to do is that scheme, you try to measure the reactive part of the current. Okay, that means you try to measure this reactive part of the current, IS sine phi. And after measuring this IS sine phi, you determine the values of alpha using the mathematical equations that you have, and from there you fire the thyristors so that the power factor becomes unity. Okay, now among these two methods, the indirect current control active power filter is the simplest one, whereas the control current active power filter is a little bit complicated, whereas the control current active power filter gives you better results compared to indirect current control active power filter. Okay, so this is the basic operation of active power filter. Okay, now I would like to discuss a different scheme where I can show you that how it can be done in a simpler way. Okay, okay. Now suppose I want to have a large value AC capacitor. Okay, large value AC capacitor is not practically available. Why it is not practically available? Because we don't require large value AC capacitor. If you connect a large value of AC capacitor in your circuit, you know that a large current will flow in the circuit, and a situation like short circuit will occur, and therefore you don't require a large value AC capacitor. And already I have shown you in thyristor switched capacitor scheme that if you connect a large number of capacitors one by one, C1, then C2, then C3, then C4, and then Cn. Okay, depending upon the amount of reactive power compensation that you require. Okay, Now, suppose I want to have a large value AC capacitor, so it is not commercially available. But if you see the electrolytic capacitor or DC capacitor, the DC capacitors are available in large values, okay? Because we require large values of DC capacitor. Now, there is an attempt of making a large value of, or realizing a large value of AC capacitor using DC capacitors, okay? So in a circuit, you can see that there are two DC capacitors C1, C2. Along with that, we have two diodes D1, D2, and we have two switches S1, S2. These switches could be MOSFET switches, or it could be IGBT switches, okay, depending upon the rating of, because it is operating at fundamental frequency. Even if you want, you can also use a thyristor switch. Okay. Now, what is happening here then? In this mode of operation is divided into 4 modes, okay? In the first mode is this one, okay, from T0 to T1. So you can see that in T0 to T1, C1 and D1 are connected like this, okay? And it is flowing through the source like this, okay? Now, when C1 and D1 are conducting, the C1 and D1 are conducting like this, okay? So what is the voltage drop across this diode? This voltage drop will be less than 1 volt, 0.7 volt, 0.6 volt, like that. So this much of reverse voltage is appearing across the DC capacitor. DC capacitor can withstand reverse voltage of 3 to 4 volts, okay? If the DC capacitor is rated for 500 volts, it can withstand a reverse voltage up to 3-4 volts, not more than that, okay? But this voltage is, the reverse voltage is even less than 1 volt. So if it is less than 1 volt, it will not make any harm to this capacitor, okay? So C1, D1 is current is flowing like this, and at the end of this, what is happening? The capacitor is charged to maximum of the supply voltage, okay? Now at this instant, what you do is that you turn on switch S1. So if you turn on switch S1 at this instant, what will happen? The capacitor which has been charged to maximum of the supply voltage, now this switch will discharge the capacitor and the current will flow like this. And at the end of this, what will happen? This capacitor will be fully discharged, okay? Similarly, in the negative half cycle, what is happening? In the negative half cycle, C2 and D2 are conducting, okay? And when C2 and D2 are conducting, okay, so the negative half starts from T2, that is mode 3. So at the end of this mode here, okay, what is happening? This capacitor is charged to maximum of the supply voltage in the negative direction, okay? So this capacitor is charged up to this. Now, if you turn on this switch S2, what is to happen? This current will flow like this, and back to the supply. So here, this capacitor will be fully discharged when you reach the end of mode T4. Okay, so here you can see that using two DC capacitors, two diodes D1, D2, and two switches S1 and S2, you can have a characteristics which is similar to the AC capacitor. Some of the things, precautions which you will have to take is that if you want to turn on the switch exactly at this point, okay, what is happening is that you have to apply the gate pulse or the gate signal of this switch a bit earlier, okay? Even if you apply a bit earlier, but this device will only be turned on after this point. So any gap of time or any delay in turn on will be eliminated. So in this way, using two DC capacitors and two diodes and two switches, you can realize the performance of an AC capacitor, okay? So you can read here is that in mode 1, during first quarter cycle, the current flows through C1, D1. Capacitor C1 charges to the peak supply voltage at the end of this interval at T1. The capacitor C2 experiences a small reverse voltage equal to forward voltage drop of diode D1. The small reverse voltage is well within the specified negative voltage limit of DC capacitor C2. This is important since DC capacitors have very small negative voltage limit, 1 to 2 volt. Gate pulse is applied to switch S1 at the beginning of mode 1 at T0. However, the switch S1 starts conducting at the beginning of the next quarter cycle at T1 only. This is done in order to avoid any turn-on delay of switch S1. Okay. Similarly, in mode 2, switch S1 starts conducting at the beginning of this interval at T1. capacitor C1 starts discharging through the source and switch S1. The voltage across C1 follows the supply voltage and becomes 0 at the end of this interval at T2. S1 is turned off at T2. In order to perform the switching exactly at T2, the gate pulse is removed a bit earlier depending upon the turn off time of the switches. Okay, so this is about the positive half cycle. Similarly, in the negative half cycle, what is happening in mode 3? This mode of operation is similar to mode 1 in the negative direction. At the beginning of this interval, C2, D2 start conducting, and the capacitor C2 is charged to the negative peak of supply voltage at T3. Capacitor C1 experiences a negative small reverse voltage equal to forward voltage drop of diode. Okay, D2. Gate pulse is applied to S2 at the beginning of mode 3 at T2. However, the switch S2 starts conducting at the beginning of next quarter cycle T3 only. And what happens in mode 4? That is from T3 to T4. Operation of this mode is similar to mode 2 in the negative direction. Okay, capacitor C2 discharges in this interval through the source and switch S2. The voltage across C2 follows the supply voltage S2. S2 is turned off at T4. Okay, so this is the case. So using these two capacitors C1, C2, D1, D2, and these two switches S1, S2, you can realize an AC capacitor using two DC capacitors. Now the question is that if you have a large AC capacitor, what is the purpose of this capacitor? Where you will use this capacitor? Okay. Now the question is that suppose I have a filter like this, which is named as quasi-passive filter for harmonic filtering. Okay. Now here, this capacitor is being realized using two DC capacitors. Okay. Two diodes D1, D2, two switches S1, S2. Now, this is a large value AC capacitor. And this large value AC capacitor along with L2 is tuned at the lowest harmonic frequency. Okay. Now, I will show you that if this capacitor value is very, very large in shunt passive filter, it will filter out all the harmonics. This point is very important. Try to listen carefully. If this capacitor value is very, very large in this shunt passive filter, this shunt passive filter will filter out all the harmonics. Okay. Through mathematical equations, I will show you. Now, one thing will be there. If there is a large capacitor here, okay, there will also be a large short circuit current which will flowing through this circuit. So the purpose of your shunt passive filter will be defeated because it will be nothing like a short circuit condition. Now what I do here is that I have a parallel resonant circuit which is combination of C and L1. So C and L1 is tuned at the fundamental frequency. So if it is tuned at the fundamental frequency, it will not allow the fundamental frequency current to flow through it. Okay, only the harmonic frequency current will flow through it. Therefore, it is blocking the fundamental component and it is filtering out the harmonic components. Why do we have a large value AC capacitor here? Because if the capacitor's value is very, very large in shunt passive filter, then only with one set of shunt passive filter tuned at the dominant harmonic frequency, it will be able to filter out all the harmonics. Otherwise, with the AC capacitor that you have, like capacitors of 50 microfarad, 40 microfarad, or even 100 microfarad, it is not possible to filter out all the harmonics with one set of shunt passive filter tuned at the dominant harmonic frequency. Okay. Now let us try to understand it with the help of some mathematical equations. Okay. The impedance of this can be written like this, as shown is equation number 1. Okay. Now here, if L1C is equal to 1 by omega naught square. So what will happen? For harmonic frequency, it provides for fundamental frequency, j omega naught is fundamental frequency, it is providing infinite impedance. That means it is not permitting the fundamental component to flow through it. Okay. Now we are writing the mathematical equations where we are neglecting the resistance. Okay. Practically, there will be a very small current depending upon the resistance of the inductor and the resistance of the capacitance also. Capacitance is also some values of equivalent series resistance, which is known as ECR. Okay. So practically, it will not be zero, but theoretically, it will be zero. Okay. You can see that The fundamental frequency current points for it is infinite. So no fundamental frequency current is allowed to flow through this. And when L1, L2 divided by L1 plus L2 multiplied by C is equal to 1 divided by N square by omega naught square. So for nth harmonic frequency, okay, this is because n term is there. So for nth harmonic frequency, this is giving zero impedance. Therefore, all the harmonic frequency current will flow through this. Therefore, if you have a filter like this, where the capacitance value is very large, okay, all the harmonic component will be filtered out. And if you have an additional parallel resonance circuit, which is formed by the combination of C and L1, it will not allow the fundamental component to flow through this. Okay. Now, let us try check the frequency response plot of this QPF. Okay. So if you take press 1, 2, 3, okay, for where the capacitance value is 1000 microfarad, 1500 microfarad, and 2000 microfarad. And accordingly, we have calculated the value of L2 in each case where the filter is tuned at the third harmonic frequency. Okay. If the filter is tuned at the fifth harmonic frequency with an additional shunt passive filter tuned at the third harmonic frequency, these are the values of the capacitors: 500 microfarad, 750 microfarad, and 10,000 microfarad. Okay. Now you can see the frequency response plot of the source is this. That is plot number 8 is frequency response plot of the source. Okay. And this plot number 7 is the plot of shunt passive filter tuned at third harmonic frequency, where the capacitance value is very small, like the shunt passive filters that you have with AC capacitors. Now, if you can see here is that larger the value of capacitance, okay, greater is the distance between curve number 8 and 1, 2, or 3. And larger this difference, better will be the filtering effect. Therefore, in this quasi-passive filter or QPF that you have said, okay, if you take a large value of capacitance, better will be the filtering effect. But how large this will be, that capacitance value? Because if you take a large value of capacitance, the current circulating in this parallel resonance circuit will be also large. Okay, so you have to take care of that. That if this current should not be very large, because if the current is very large, and in that case, you have to design inductors for that large current rating. So you have to be careful about that. Okay. Now, let us show you some of the simulation results. Okay. Now here you can see that we have taken a diode rectifier feeding RC load, and this has been intentionally taken RC load because if it is RC load, in that case your distortion will be very, very high. Okay, so we have taken an RC load to create very large distortion, and we are checking the performance of this quasi-passive filter. Okay, you can see the IRL, the load current has, IRL means this current. This current has very high distortion. Okay, if you see the TSD will be very, very high. Whereas when you have the quasi-passive filter, okay, you can see that the current ILS is close to sinusoidal. Okay, ILS and V1 is the voltage at this point. Okay, so V1 and IL1, they're close. V1 is already sinusoidal, while ILS is also sinusoidal. Okay, if you see the currents through the capacitors, IC1 and IC2 are the currents through the capacitors. Okay, you have to manage this switching. Just a minute. Yes. Okay. Can you hear me? Is it okay? Students?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
yes, sir. You are visible, audible.
I'm not visible. I'm not visible. I'm audible. Okay. Okay,
yes, sir.
okay.
I corrected myself.
Okay, fine. No problem. No problem. So what you have to do is that you have to see that there should not be spikes in these currents. Okay. If there is spikes, it will damage the switches, because here we are doing the simulation. In a practical case, when you will have spikes, it will definitely damage the switches. So you have to take care. So the switchings has to be accurate. Now, when you take V2 minus V3, so V2 minus V3 is the voltage across this capacitor C1, okay? And V3 minus V4 is the voltage across this another capacitor. So these two capacitor voltages together become sinusoidal, okay? That is what we want. And IL1 is the current flowing in this parallel resonant circuit, which is sinusoidal, okay? And IL2 is the current flowing in the shunt passive filter, okay? So you can see that all the harmonic components are flowing through it. The third harmonic component is there, fifth is there, seventh is there, and so on, and very little fundamental component. Why this fundamental component is there? Because we have not neglected the losses of these inductors and capacitors, okay? We have taken this resistance here. We have taken some resistance here. This is the practical value of resistance, because the inductors will have certain resistance also, okay? Similarly, here also you have taken some resistance, okay? If you neglect this resistance, in that case, this current will have only the harmonic components, and there will not be any fundamental component, okay? So it has been shown that if the distortion is very high, you can see here the third harmonic component is so high, the fifth harmonic component is also very high, okay? With one set of shunt passive filter tuned at dominant frequency, where the capacitance value is 250 microfarad, you can filter out all the harmonic frequencies, okay? Now, this has been tested for RC load here, okay, diode rectifier feeding RC load. Then this has also been tested for diode rectifier feeding RL load. Let me show you it here. Okay, and the next case is diode rectifier feeding RL load. This is more of a practical load, but here the distortion is less than the RC load. Here I also see that it is working wonderfully. Okay, all the harmonics are filtered out, and ILS contains almost no harmonic. Okay, V2 is also free from harmonics. V2 means the voltage at common point of common coupling. This is the voltage here, V2. This is known as PCC, point of common coupling. Here the voltage is almost sinusoidal, okay? So this can be shown here. Now let us take an example. This example has been taken from Ned Mohan's book, that you have the third harmonic component as high as 73.2%. Very, very high. Practically, it's not with that high. Fifth harmonic is 36.6%. The seventh harmonic is 8.1%. Ninth harmonic is 5.7%, like that, okay? And try to check the performance of this shunt passive filter or quasi-passive filter, okay? And this circuit shows you the results. You see it carefully first, and then I will explain you, okay? Now you see in this table, okay, we have taken three values of capacitance. Initially, the capacitance is 1500 microfarad, C1 and C2. Okay. Then we have taken C1 and C2 2000 microfarad. Then we have taken C1 and C2 is equal to 2500 microfarad. Okay. Now you see here, if you take this value of capacitance to 1500 microfarad, in that case, the current TSD becomes equal to 7.126 and the voltage TSD is equal to 5.241. Now, if you further increase the value of capacitance, okay, to 2000 microfarad, you see the current TSD and the voltage TSD is reducing. If you take this value to 2500 microfarad, the current TSD and voltage TSD, they are further decreasing. Okay. Now, with this large distortion, normally the distortion is not that high. Normally, this third harmonic component will be of the order of 10% or 15%. The fifth harmonic component will be of the order of 7%, 8%. Okay, it will not be that high. But with that much high values also, it is able to filter out the harmonics. Okay. And if you have a additional third harmonic filter, okay, that means you have an additional third harmonic filter tuned with the AC capacitors of 50 microfarad, and you have a passant passive filter tuned with 500 microfarad, the TSD is very, very less. Okay. Therefore, these are the options with you. If you want to have a third harmonic filter tuned at the lowest harmonic frequency, and apart from that, you have a quasi-passive filter, okay, tuned at the dominant harmonic frequencies, the C1 and C2 are 500 microfarad, whereas if you have only one single unit, C1, C2 will be slightly higher depending upon your requirement. Okay, so this result shows that with large value of AC capacitor, it is possible to filter out all the harmonics. Okay, but the question is that how large will be your capacitor value, whether it will be 1500 microfarad or it will be 2000 microfarad, depending upon your requirement. Okay, if your TSD is not very high, you don't require to make this capacitor 2000 microfarad. Even with a capacitor of 500 microfarad, you will be able to filter out the harmonics. Okay, because if your capacitance value is very large, you can see here is that the current which is circulating in parallel resonant circuit is very large. Okay, so for a 2500 microfarad capacitor, there will be a large value of current flowing in the circuit. So these inductors, okay, will be bulky inductors. Okay, and this losses in the circuit will be also be high, because you cannot neglect the resistance of the inductor totally. Okay, so depending upon your requirement, you will choose a particular value of capacitance so that the harmonics are filtered out. Larger the value of capacitance, larger will be the current flowing in the parallel resonant circuit, and larger will be the losses in the circuit. So you will have to take care of it. Okay. Next. Next. Now come to whether it is possible to do reactive power compensation also using this thing. So it has been termed as modified static VOR compensator. So in modified static VOR compensator, what has been done is that you have this inductor as variable inductor, whereas in the earlier scheme, this inductor was a fixed inductor. Now here, this inductor is a variable inductor. Okay, otherwise it is same, but this is the quasi-passive filter here, and along with that you have an inductor here which is a controlled inductor. Okay, so this circuit is slightly different from the earlier circuit. Now from here you can write that Vs is equal to this. So from here you can write the equation of the fundamental component of current through the inductor like this. Okay, from here you can write the value of L effective is equal to Vs divided by this. So this gives you the expression of the L effective. Okay, so from here you can write B effective, that is effective susceptance will be 1 divided by omega L effective. So this equation gives you the value of effective susceptance. Therefore, the leading VOR supplied by this is we have named as modified static VOR compensator. Okay, MSSV. So modified is this, lagging VOR supplied by MSSV is this. Therefore, net VOR supplied by this is equal to this minus this one. So this Finally, larger the capacitor size, higher will be the value of this, which results into higher power rating MSBC. Lagging VAR of the system load is given by QL is equal to this, where phi is the power factor angle. Okay, so the lagging VAR of the system QL and leading VAR supplied by this are equal at unity power factor condition. So equating 7 and 8, we get IL1 is equal to this. Okay, and finally, substituting IL1 from 2 into 9, we get this equation. Okay, so this is the final equation. Now, in this final equation, for fixed value of Vs and for fixed value of C, L1 and L2, okay, what is happening? The equation 10 relates reactive current Is sin phi and firing angle alpha. Okay, thus reactive current can be controlled by controlling alpha of the thyristor. Okay, therefore, in this scheme, with slight modification, what you can do the reactive power compensation also by changing the value of alpha. So if you change this value of alpha, what will happen? This will be detuned from the fundamental frequency. And when it is detuned from the fundamental frequency, a small amount of fundamental component is allowed to flow through this modified static VAR compensator. And in that way, it is helping you in reactive power compensation. And then the combination of C and L2 provides you the harmonic filtering. Therefore, with this large value of AC capacitor, we can do harmonic filtering, and also we can do reactive power compensation depending upon the amount of detuning that you require for reactive power compensation, and accordingly you have to choose the value of alpha. Okay, so this total scheme is known as modified static VAR compensator, and this modified static VAR compensator has been investigated using this simulation circuit, where the load is a combination of linear load. This is a linear load, RL load, and this is your nonlinear load, dielectric feeding RL load. Okay, and this is your control inductor, and this is your large value of AC capacitor. Now you can see is that IRL was initially like this. Okay, and as soon as we turn on the switches, this voltage and current are in phase. Okay, and also you can see here that V2 minus V3, V3 minus V4, this is totally sinusoidal. So it is possible to do reactive power compensation as well as harmonic filtering with using this large value AC capacitor. Okay, these are the FFTs. Okay, this is the practical circuit for this. So in this way, we can do reactive power compensation and harmonic filtering using this large value AC capacitor. Okay, so this is a scheme. So what you have to do practically, you can see here is that what you have to do is that you have to sense the current at the zero crossing of the voltage. Okay, using this this you have to sense this using 74121, and then it is converted into digital form, and then you have a microprocessor here or microcontroller here, and this will give you the appropriate delay, and then you will have to fire the thyristors depending upon the delay angle, and then here you have to use a PLL for taking care of any change in frequencies. So from these two, these are the firing pulses for the thyristors T1 and T2 for the scheme. Okay, so experimentally also this has been verified. Okay, so the conclusion is that the modified static VAR compensator has been proposed for reactive power compensation using a large value AC capacitor. That large value AC capacitor has been realized using two large value DC capacitor and two power semiconductor devices. Okay, simulation and experiment results establish that with a large value capacitance of the order of 2500 microfarad, the MSBC, the THD of the source current and voltage at PCC can be reduced to less than 5% by proposed MSBC having only one set of shunt passive filter tuned at third harmonic frequency. This is a major advantage of MSBC over conventional SBCs, in which different sets of shunt passive filters tuned at different harmonic frequencies are required for filtering different harmonic frequency currents. Since MSBC does not require high performance complex inverters as required in conventional active power filters, it can be used in higher power applications than conventional active power filters. Okay, so we started with this scheme. Okay, we started with this scheme, that is the conventional reactive power compensation scheme was this. Okay, this was the conventional reactive power compensation scheme using a using a thyristor switch capacitor and thyristor control inductor. Okay, we started with this scheme, thyristor switch capacitor and thyristor control inductor. When we discussed about the limitations of these schemes, and then we modified this scheme and proposed a modified static power compensator, using which you can do both reactive power compensation as well as the harmonic filtering using one set of shunt passive filter tuned at the dominant harmonic frequency. Okay, so this is one of the ways of filtering out the harmonics from the system. And now let us see how we can do in active power filters. Okay, now in indirect, if you talk about the indirect current control active power filter, there are three types of schemes mainly used. Okay, although there are several types of schemes, but the basic schemes are hysteresis band control, error triangulation control, and sliding mode control. These are the basic three schemes which are very, very popular so far as the indirect current control active power filters are concerned. Okay, now you have to control this voltage source inverter. Okay, then these are the control principle. Okay, the control principle, you have to write certain equations. Vs is equal to, this is the KVL equation, then you have to take the derivative of this, you get certain equations. Okay, then solving certain equations, you get Is is equal to I compensation plus I load. Okay, so differentiating this, you get this equation. Now in this equation, LHS left hand side can be controlled by controlling the switching functions S. Okay, so you have to derive the certain control laws for this. Another thing is that how will you design the capacitance in this? Because here you have a capacitor, you have a DC link capacitor. What is the DC link capacitor? This is the DC link capacitor. Let me show you the DC link capacitor. Just a minute. The DC link capacitor is here. It is here. This is the DC link capacitor. You have to design this capacitor and also you have to design this inductor. Okay, so the basic formula for designing the DC link capacitor is that, let me come to it. Design of DC link capacitor. The DC link capacitor supplies or absorbs energy whenever there is a sudden change in active power demand of the load. Under such conditions, the capacitor supports the load demand for at least half period of the supply frequency. The DC link capacitor value is calculated from the energy balance principle. The energy stored in the capacitor is equal to energy demand of the load during the transient period. Thus, we can write half CV square is equal to this, and from here we find out the value of the DC link capacitor. Okay. Then to find out the inductor value, the filter inductor must be small enough so that injected current dL by dt is greater than that of the reference current di reference by dt for the injected current to track the reference current. Otherwise, it will not be able to track the reference current and you will not get any PWM signals for the switches. Okay. And another thing is that how to do the, what is hysteresis band control? Hysteresis band control is frequently used in active power filter. In hysteresis band control, what we do is that we define a hysteresis band. Okay, what should be the hysteresis band? Now you see this line shows you the actual current. Okay, this is the actual current, and then this is the upper hysteresis band, and this is the lower hysteresis band, and you have defined this hysteresis band. Now when this actual current touches this upper hysteresis band or the lower hysteresis band, you get some type of PWM pattern. Okay, so if you take this hysteresis band very large, in that case the switchings will be less, and if you take this hysteresis band very small, in that switchings will be more. So you will have to make a compromise between this. Okay, if you take this switchings very less, in that case there will be large number of switchings and the system will become sluggish. And if you take a very large hysteresis band, in that case, the switchings will be less, but your actual current will deviate from the current that you want. That means it will have large amount of distortions. Okay, so it is very important how to define the hysteresis band. Okay, so hysteresis band control is very popular here. There is certain control laws for here. You have to define certain equations for here, and these are some of the simulation results here. I'm not showing here. You can see the simulation results here. What is happening? Okay, this is simulation circuit of active power filter for diode rectifier feeding RC load. Okay, so you can see here is that these are your voltage control loop and current control loop for hysteresis band control. Okay, and then what is happening, you can see initially the current was distorted, but as soon as you turn on the active power filter somewhere at 100 milliseconds, you see your current become sinusoidal. Okay, so see the transient response of the circuit. What you are doing is that you are changing the load somewhere at 300 milliseconds. So again, you see that after some time, the current is becoming steady and it is in phase with the bigger one is voltage, the smaller one is current. It is in phase with the current. And this is the current injected by the active power filter. If you see the FFT of this contains fundamental component as well as the harmonic component. The fundamental component is used for harmonic filtering, and the harmonic components are used for taking care of the harmonics. And this is the capacitor voltage. This capacitor voltage is almost steady state. When you switch on, when you change the load for some time, what is happening? The capacitor has to supply the reactive power. Okay, it is not the voltage source inverter, as I said you while designing the capacitor. So it takes some time to come to the steady state. Similarly, for RL load also, you can see here is that for RL load also this has been simulated. Okay, and you get these results. Okay, these are the FFTs of this, and this is for the three-phase active power filter. Okay, this is the results for three-phase active power filter, and this is the table. Okay, where you can see that initially the current TSD was 92%. Okay, and using this active power filter, this TSD has reduced to this much only. Okay, in case of RL load, it is 37%. Okay, feeding RL load, and it has reduced to 0.884 for single phase case, and for three phase case you can see that for RL load the distortion is about 20%, and while after using this active power filter it has reduced to 0.34%. Okay, so using this active power filter also you can filter out the harmonics. Okay, so both the circuits are used for filter out the harmonics from the system, but the only difference is that in active power filter you use a complicated circuit, whereas in case of the modified static power compensator that I discussed, you can do the same thing using a simplified circuit. Okay, so this is the different papers. Okay, so with this I think this part is over. Now this time is now I have covered for about 1.5 hours. Okay, I was told to speak for 1.5 hours. Now if you have any questions, you may ask me. Now this is open for discussion. Okay, if you have any questions, you may ask me one by one.
Those who are having queries, please ask.
No questions?
I think, sir, there is no doubt from the audience side.
Okay. Fine. So I tried to cover a very basic topic. Okay, so that
yes, sir, the topics were very basic, but the way you have explained it was it is like I will be using these technique in my lectures also. Okay. It was very good.
Fine. So no questions.
Sorry, sir.
Dhananjay?
No question.
Just to read the chat box, one question is
please,
there.
Please read out. Please read out.
No, sir, there is a question. Can this scheme be applied in industrial environment?
Definitely. Why not? This is for industry only. This is for industry only. Okay.
So this question is from Biswajit Mahopatra.
Ah.
Mahopatra.
Okay. So this is used for this is used in industry only. Okay, because industry generates harmonics, not the domestic loads. Domestic loads will also generate harmonics, but the industrial harmonics will be more. So this will be used in, this can be used in industry also. Okay, no problem in doing that. Anybody else? Okay, so thank you very much then. Thank you for your patient hearing. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience. Bolo.
Sir, Sir, KNIT Sultanpur family expresses its gratitude for such an informative session.
Dhananjay, one more question is there. Please read that.
Okay. Please.
Any, sir, any research topic related to this?
Many research topics. See, already many papers has come out. I just used the references. Okay, many papers. See, this paper has been published in IT Generation Transmission and Distribution in 2008. Large value AC capacitor for harmonic filtering and reactive power compensation. Okay, then another paper is published in Electric Power System Research, quasi-passive filter for harmonic filtering. Okay, then a paper has been published in a large value AC capacitor using 2 DC capacitor, International Journal of Circuit Theory and Applications. Okay, then a paper has been published in electric power system, modify static power compensator using a large value AC capacitor. Okay, then on active power filters, a paper has been published, indirect current control shunt active power filter for power quality control in International Journal of Electric Power and Energy System, LCWEL journal. So this is LCWEL journal, this is also LCWEL journal, this is LCWEL journal, and this is your IIT GTT. Okay, so this has many research applications. Okay, this is an old work. These papers were published in 2008 and 10. Okay, so 13 years back. Okay, so this has been published in international journals. Okay, so I have only summarized the work. Anything else?
Anything else from the audience side?
I think, Dhananjay, there is no question. Please proceed for vote of thanks to the sir.
Okay, sir. Okay. KNIT Sultanpur family expresses its gratitude for such an informative session. We would like to thank you for sharing your decade of experience, research work, and simulation results. Few takeaway from this session includes basic terms, especially the power factor, whose definition must be crystal clear to every electrical engineering. Whereas advanced compensators such as TSC, TCI, static VR compensators, modified SVC compensators were discussed. Generation of reference current is the basic to start the research, and it was also presented in a very clear manner. With this, I hope that this session is highly beneficial for the viewers. We are highly obliged to you, sir, for sharing your valuable time. We hope to see you again for such expert lectures. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dhananjay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very
Thank you
much,
very much,
Dr.
sir.
Yogesh Chauhan,
Sir.
for giving me this opportunity to speak. Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
आज का सेशन एंड कर दो धनंजय भाई.
सर एक अनाउंसमेंट बस करना है छोटा सा.
अनाउंसमेंट कर दो, सेशन एंड करो.
हाँ ठीक है. Those who every participant should mark their attendance. The link is now active. You just mark your attendance.
Should I disconnect?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. आप disconnect.
Okay, thank you.
I hope the link of attendance is with everyone.